Hello and welcome to CPA Toolbox, a place where you'll find tools, tricks, and techniques to help you succeed in your CPA studies and work. Today we're going to talk about 5 key tips to help you ace and succeed in your Core 1 exam, which is the financial reporting exam for the Canadian CPA program. So the first tip I want to go over is memorizing parts of the financial standards. This is something that I did throughout my CPA program, but in terms of financial reporting, I use the standards and I memorize certain definitions and certain key criteria that helped me, I found, in writing the cases. So personally, I used an app called Anki, which is basically a pretty simple flashcard app, but it allows you to input data and create your own flashcards. And even just the process of creating the flashcards I found was a really good learning experience because it forces you to create questions and to find the answers for those questions. In terms of what I would put in the answers, I would pretty much just copy paste from the standard because I prefer to always take it from the source, and I would use that to test myself throughout the program. So what Anki does is based on the concept of spaced repetition, which basically means that the concepts that you find more difficult those flashcards will come back more frequently, whereas the ones that you find easier will come back with less frequency, but it helps you to target your weaknesses and to build on those weaknesses. So yeah, that's the first tip. Memorizing parts of the standard, it will help you to get through your cases faster and to identify issues when you're reading the cases, because you'll know the definitions and the criteria that are in the key standards that you're studying. The second tip that I'll go over is it's important to compare and know the differences between ASPE and IFRS. So in Core 1, you're going to learn financial reporting under ASPE, but also under IFRS. And it's important that you know what are the key differences between both of the standards. You should be able to explain and understand the implications of how, for example, accounting for leases from the lessee point of view under IFRS is versus under ASPE. This particular case is very different, and it's important to know what those differences are. So when I was taking my notes, I would always compare one standard to the other. So for example, if I'm looking at the criteria for recognizing a contingent loss, I would look at what's the criteria under IFRS and what's the criteria under ASPE. Some things you'll find are identical. For example, IAS 2 inventory is very similar to the inventory standard under ASPE, but then there's cases where there is a lot of differences. So it's important to know those differences, and that will help you as well in your case writing. So the third tip is about debriefing your cases properly, and this is something that you should do throughout your whole CPA program. And if you get into a good habit of doing that properly from now, this will help you a lot. So in terms of how to debrief your case, it's a good idea to track your progress each time you write a case. I didn't do this from the start of the program, but if you do get in that habit from the very start of your CPA program, and you track your results for each case, I used to use a table. What I'll do is I'll put a copy of my table in the description box, so you can kind of get inspiration from that, or you can use that. But with the table, you can track how you perform in each case. You can see your progress, and it's important to note for yourself what your weaknesses are, and also what you learned from each AO that you debrief. I'll do another video on how to debrief a case properly. But one tip that I would give right now is that I found it was always helpful to print the case after I read it. So print my solution and print the case solution and compare what I wrote to what the solution is. Because I found when you actually print it, you see a lot more. You're able to detect mistakes and things that you might not have normally seen if you just reviewed it on the screen. So that's something that I found was really helpful. The fourth tip is having a consistent structure for your responses. So financial reporting issues, they're often going to be the same or require the same kind of analysis. So I found it was very useful to follow for each financial reporting issue that I wrote to follow the same structure. And in terms of what I would put in each structure, I would start with identifying the issue. Then I would identify what the client how the client accounted for it or how the company accounted for it. And I would analyze the issue, provide my recommendation, and conclude. And then I would note what the impact on the financial statement is and the impact on the user need or bias. But I'll explain that in more detail either in the description box or in another video. But basically, having a structure will help you to be consistent in how you answer, and also will help you to answer more quickly. So yeah, that's one thing that will definitely help you in terms of your writing style and in terms of answering financial reporting questions. And the last tip on how to do well and how to excel in Core 1 is in terms of managing your time when you're writing a case or when you're writing your exam. So this is important throughout the entire CPA program, for all your case writing, for all your exams, especially for the CFE. But it's when you receive your case question in an exam, first, normally I would estimate 20% of the suggested time to read and plan the case, and then the remaining time that you have, I would take maybe 10 minutes from that time as a buffer, and then divide the remaining number of minutes that you have between the number of issues that you have in the case. And you have to be very strict with yourself. You need to hit all the AOs in the case. So you should estimate an average of how much time you can allocate to each issue. And then you need to really push yourself to finish your analysis within that time. If you find you're not able to finish, it's a good idea to move on to the next issue and come back and try to come back to finish what you weren't able to finish. But it's important to be able to finish the whole exam and to complete all the issues. So time management is very key. They don't usually give you, a whole lot of time to do everything. So you need to really manage the little bit of time that you have to be able to write a well-written response for each case. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I would appreciate if you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this with some people that you think would find this useful. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.